What's going on, Internet? Iron Jordan here. So, today I did something I haven't done in almost 3 months, which was play the Digimon card game at my locals. I recently moved, as you guys are aware of, and as we touched on in previous videos, I don't have as much time to play card games as I did. I'm really relegated to the weekends now, especially since my locals is further away from me. But I was able to make the trip out today and to get some Digimon in. I actually did not have a deck prior to this morning, but I talked to my buddy Todd Reese, who is one of our established local players from back in the Panini Dragon Ball Z days. Good buddies with him. And he hooked me up along with a bunch of the other guys. Alex Rosales also hooked me up with some commons and uncommons and some. He actually got me two of my copies of Ulforce, and then I borrowed some other cards from Todd to be able to craft the deck that we are about to profile right now. And yes, it is Ulforce. This is the deck that made me fall in love with Digimon back before 1.0 was even out. Back when the game was, just kind of maybe coming to America. This was the deck that really caught my attention. Why? Because it feels like a combo deck. For people that don't know me, I, first got my taste of competitive card games from Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was a big combo player and still am. I play Tri Brigade in Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays, but I really love combo decks, and we don't truly have a combo deck in Digimon, but this is the closest thing to it. And so I was very excited to get to take this to locals today and give it a shot and see what it had. We had a rather large locals today. We had 18. Last week they actually had 25, and I wasn't even a part of that. But locals are firing off pretty well in our area in Gastonia. If you're in the Gastonia, Charlotte, Shelby, Rock Hill area, that southeastern part of North Carolina, or I'm sorry, southwestern part of North Carolina, and you want to come by Gamers Alley, we have tournaments for Digimon on Sundays at 2 p.m. and I believe it's also Tuesdays at 6 p.m. But I have not been to any of those, so don't quote me on that. But the locals is excellent. The owner is fantastic. I've been shopping there for almost a decade now. They support almost every card game. Digimon is booming over there. They don't have product right now, but it's because they sold out instantly. But it's a really good environment. It's very safe. Masks are mandatory. They have hand sanitizer at the stations. They try to keep everybody safe, during this time. But it's a really good environment. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the deck itself. So we're only playing the four babies, four Demi Vmon. This is just for consistency's sake. We don't want to have the game go super long. We really want to be setting up a Ulforce on turn 3, and we can actually even do it sooner depending on how much memory our opponent gives us on their turn 1, especially if we're going first. But yeah, Demi Vmon, he's just the most consistent one for our deck. We're going to proc the jamming draw most often, or actually quite often, and so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't think you need to play any other rookie, but you can play a fifth one if you want. And if you did, I would maybe play the other Demi Vmon or maybe Upamon from set 1.0. Moving on to the rookies, we have 14 rookies. The first one is the Vmon at common in this set. He has an inheritable of when the Digimon becomes unsuspended on your main phase, you draw one. This does not come up that often, mostly because the cards that are untapping are, level 4s or level 6s. And so this requires the Vmon to swing in and then play like an X Vmon on top of it, and or to have this guy survive and go up the chain to a 5 for Arrow, or to survive all the way into 6 on Ulforce. But I'll be honest, through 4 rounds of play today, I did not trigger this draw one a single time. So it is very rare. If he wasn't a Vmon name, I don't think that we would play him. And I'm hoping that in the future we get better blue Vmons to just, make the deck better. The next one is the All-Star of the deck, which is the Vmon at rare from this set that has jamming. This is 100% an All-Star. It triggers the Demi Vmon, and obviously you get the combo, which is very relevant, which is going Vmon, swinging, drawing a card, playing the X Vmon on top to restand him, and now the card is immune to being attacked, unless your opponent can attack active mode cards, which I do not believe that we have very many of in Digimon at this current moment. So this card was excellent, especially when you pair it with the X Vmon, But yeah, that card is kind of expensive right now. I think this card is like $10 or $11 the last time I checked. I was actually really fortunate. The guys at Locals hooked me up. They were all like, hey, this card is not a $10 card. It's just kind of big right now because I think Ricky Rush plays this, and so they all hooked me up very cheap for this card. So shout outs to those guys. Next, we have the Gobblemon from set one. This card was pretty good today. It it's just a good placeholder, honestly. I don't think you have to play this card. And again, when we get more VMon targets, I think you'll run those instead because you want. I mean, God forbid Bandai give us a VMon that does this exact same thing. That would actually be incredible for the deck. But this card was fine. Uh, I don't think it's mandatory. So if you don't have them, you don't. And in fact, I actually don't own any copies of this card myself. Actually, sorry, I own one copy of this card myself, and so I was borrowing three from Todd today. Again, shout outs to Todd. And yeah, it was fine. It was good. Next we have Gomamon. This was supposed to be the two energy. I'm sorry, the three energy Gomamon that when it's KO'd, you restand in energy, or I'm sorry, restand energy. Like I'm playing Dragon Ball. I play too many card games, but you gain a memory. But this actually ended up being pretty good. So much so that I ended up bumping it up after the tournament, where I really liked having this two drop vanilla slot. And so yeah, I really liked this a lot. The two drop vanillas you cannot overestimate, or underestimate how good these cards are. Moving on to our champions, we're running three. We've got four Vidramons. This was the underperformer of the day, but it was still a good card. Just comparing it to the other champions, it was just not quite as good. But when you have a blue tamer in play, it gets jamming. It was really good when we had a tamer. It was not so good when we didn't have a tamer. It was very good when you had a tamer and it was stacked on top of a Demi Vmon. And that was just fantastic. But other than that, it wasn't the best card. Now XVmon, this card was insane. There were actually a couple of games where I didn't quite have lethal on board, or I was just one life away from killing my opponent, and then I have the two memory to spare. My creature survived. Slap an XVmon on top. Like if we swung with the Vmon and we weren't quite at game, we could just slap the XVmon on top, and that was game all of a sudden because he untaps himself because it unsuspends one of your level 4 or lower Digimon. This card was great. It was excellent. There was actually my second round was against Rookie Rush, and I ended up winning solely because I have so many cards in the deck that just don't care about Puppetmon. So there was a turn where I had two blockers on board and like a level 3, and he attacked my life, made me, block and stuff, and then slapped down the Puppetmon. And I was like, all right, cool. You gave me, 10 memory to work with. And so I just used the XVmons to untap all my blockers, which was amazing. And I was able to take that game pretty handily. I actually was playing Cocytus Breath during the tournament instead of the card that I'm playing down here at the bottom. And I was able to, bait him into playing Puppetmon like 2 or 3 turns in a row when I had all these cards in my hand that would just untap. So I was actually winning the tempo battle because he wasn't really hitting me with guys. He was maybe hitting me with the Puppetmon, maybe, but I was taking 2 or 3 life for a turn, and I didn't even have to play Ulforce that game. Next is Grizzlymon. Obviously, like blockers are necessary, so you play him. It's a 2-drop blocker, so you play it. Going into the ultimates, we have 4 Arrow Vidramon. This card was very, very good. So I know people don't like this card because it's a 3-drop, but it does do some really good things. It combos really well with Ulforce off of its inheritable effect. And it was just good in general. Again, during the Rookie Rush matchup, game 3, I ended up landing 2 Ulforces, and I probably wouldn't have been able to, do that if it weren't for this card, because I was able to like wipe some of my opponent's board by, playing these and then taking out some of the little guys. And it was pretty good. It was pretty solid. Next, we have Bastamon. We're literally just playing her because she's a vanilla 2-drop on the evolve. The other cards I was considering for this in the champion slot were Gorillamon for sure, and then there is the free play guy off your security, which I don't remember. I think his name's Arrowmon or something like that. But that card is pretty good, and I'm going to be playing around with this build a little bit and changing it up. But Bastamon was actually pretty good. I kind of underestimated how good it was going to be to have a 2-drop. If my opponent ended up giving me, 4 memory, and I think I couldn't really do very much, and then I just drop like a Hammer Spark or whatever, Bastamon, and then Bastamon go up into Ulforce, and then Ulforce just wins the game because I have 3 Tamers out, so I'm getting 4 swings or whatever. And that was pretty good. Going on to our final role here, we have our only mega in the deck, which is Ulforce Digimon. The deck space is really tight in this deck, and so you don't really have room to run anything other than Ulforce. And I actually think that the deck would be really cloggy if you ran anything else. You could maybe slip a Puppetmon in just because Puppetmon's generically good. You can maybe play Imperial Dramon if you want. Obviously, you could always play Omnimon, but Omnimon would require you to get into Ulforce first. So I feel like Ulforce is just, it's just perfect where it was at. Like I said, it was very, very good. When you landed in Ulforce, the thing about Ulforce, the thing about this deck in general, is that you really want to be able to play the Ulforce and swing a bunch of times on the turn that you play it. You don't want to be playing the Ulforce and then passing your turn. So you do have to have some setup. It kind of requires you to hold your Hammer Sparks until your Ulforce turn, which is typically what I was doing because people got wise to the fact that you were trying to digivolve and just keep trying to starve you out, which is why we'll be maybe changing the tamer lineup as well. But speaking of the tamers, we have Rena. Rena is pretty much a staple in Ulforce decks because you play her, she looks at top three, she gets any card with V in its name, puts it in your hand, and then puts the other ones at the bottom of the deck. And then she has, whenever one of your blue Digimon attacks, you can tap her to give it plus 10k. I'm sorry, plus 1k. I'm thinking like Dragon Ball again. So this instantly procs Ulforce's effect, which I didn't go over that, but Ulforce's effect is when one of your blue tamers becomes suspended, unsuspend this Digimon, and then once per turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain one memory. So it's really good. Obviously, you end up gaining the memory, you reset the Ulforce, he probably gets jamming from like the arrow or something like that, which is really, really nice. In worst case scenario, he's like a 12k whenever you activate the arena. Next, you have Ty. Ty's another good one. He's two memory. He was probably better today than Rena was. The unfortunate thing about Ty is that Ty is not an on swing effect, which, I mean, is good and bad because it means you don't get the instant restand off of Ulforce, which means you don't proc the jamming, which means you could potentially run into something that is bigger than Ulforce or as big as Ulforce and just having it die. But Ty was very good. Next, we have Hammer Spark because obviously we're playing blue. You want to play 4 Hammer Spark, and it's very good if you can just hold your Hammer Sparks until the turn you want to go into Ulforce, and then just drop 2 or 3 of them. Go into the Ulforce. That pays for Ulforce right there. So if you had the 2 memory to play, or I'm sorry, if you had the 3 memory to play the 5, so essentially, I mean, even if you're only on 2 memory to play Bastamon, like you just go to 5 by playing 3 Hammer Sparks, go into Ulforce, and just win the game. And the final card is the Ray of Victory, which is main, return 1 of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to their hand, and trash all the cards underneath. Then, if you have a blue Tamer in play, unsuspend 1 of your Digimon. So, like I said, I was playing Kakaitis Breath during the tournament, and it was okay, but I actually, unfortunately, went 2 and 2, and my 2 losses were both to Shine Greymon, which I believe are hard counters to this deck. So, yeah. I actually ended up going 0-2 against both Shine Gray decks, which was just insane. And I didn't figure out, how to play against Shine Gray, at least with this deck, until like the third game. And it kind of relies on you going a little more aggressive. But this deck does seem like it has good matchups, it has bad matchups, but we will continue to tweak it and play it, and I will be giving you guys reports on how this goes. I know that this is a relatively popular deck, despite the fact that it's kind of bad, but I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's not quite as good as the good decks in the format, if that makes any kind of sense. I do think that our Rookie Rush matchup is surprisingly pretty good. I feel like if you see Rookie Rush at your locals a lot, that this is definitely a list that you could take and feel good about, especially if you end up jamming blockers pretty early. But yeah, this is fun. It's not really, I'm not trying to be hyper competitive. This is just the deck that I like, and it was pretty good today. I just really need to shore up some of the Shine Gray matchups because it's pretty popular at my locals, but so is Rookie Rush. So I actually think looking around, the tables today, I saw Omnimon Red, I saw Purple. Didn't play against either of those. I saw the Green download deck. I saw because people are playing pre-nerf before April rolls around. I saw Blue Green. 2 people were playing Blue Green. I was the only one on Mono Blue. I think I did not see any other Mono Blue lists. So obviously the Rookie Rush deck that I played against was blue green, and then there was a bunch of Shine Gray because of course there was. And then I think there was one more yellow deck that was just kind of a yellow. No, that was Shine Gray too. So yeah, Shine Gray and Rookie Rush kind of dominate my locals. So definitely got to show up the Shine Ray one, but I feel pretty good about the Rookie Rush match. So let me know what you guys think about this deck list. If there's any suggestions you guys would like to make. Again, I haven't been playing over the past 2 months, so I'm very much open to those. So let me know what you guys think about the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.